Hello, everyone. My name is Rajeev Aluru. I work for Calpine, Fortune 300 energy company in Houston. And I actually lead the analytics and asset optimization groups here. So the responsibilities of that role, broadly speaking, is to leverage the data and information that we generate from our power plants and various entities of the business, and then help increase the shareholder value by using all the data. So there are a lot of aspects within the company we touch based on the data, but it's all about how do we help the business get better in various aspects. So with that said, a little bit about me. My experience includes engineering leadership roles in aerospace, automotive, and also energy, primarily utilities. And I also worked in customer analytics and operations analytics in the last at least 5 to 6 years. Engineering background with a business degree as well. So here is the topic. Let's get to the topic of the day. On one hand, you see businesses that are increasingly getting digital, changing very fast, competition emerging from all aspects. On the other hand, you have technology forces such as the Amazon, Google, or Apple, or even bigger Fortune 50 companies, 100 companies are able to use data science and get billions of dollars of business growth and improvement. However, in most of the Fortune 500 companies, there is a critical gap that exists between the business and data science. So my topic is about how can we close that gap, and then what is my experience indicating me, and how did we use that with some example. It's actually that's what I want to discuss. So without any further ado, think of this as 4 critical elements, and with the center of the block being data science success. So the first one is initiation phase, which essentially is the first one. And in this case, I want to emphasize the point that we are living in a customer obsessed time now, obsessed society. So the first thing would be starting with the customer. That can be internal, that can be external. Sit down with them, have multiple conversations with them, and then understand the current process. Once, as you are understanding the process, map the journey, identify the bottlenecks in the current process, and pick the biggest ones. Some of them might be known, some of them are known to the business leaders, but some of them might not be. They are so much focused and they might not have noticed that, which you get fresh perspectives can help. And then once that is done, the next phase would be planning. So how do we prioritize? In this case, prioritization needs to be done based on value delivery. How quick can you deliver value? And then also the most valuable most valuable initiatives or programs doesn't necessarily require complex techniques. I've heard various speakers talk throughout the day and explain that, and I'm going to re-emphasize one more time. Linear regression probably can solve 80% of the world's problems. However, there are instances where you need to go deeper. So the first few revisions of it might not need any deeper details. So start simple, deliver value, and then more think of programmatically approaching it and then helping business. And then the next thing is execution, right? So once we have a plan, now there are designing the sprints accordingly. That can be 2 to 3 week sprints. Touch base with the sponsors periodically, adjust the plan as necessary. And then one thing that is really, really necessary here is the storytelling part and the communication part. Make it simple enough, as smart as the 5th grader is what I would say all the time. And then ongoing communication. How do you implement an agile delivery process, if I may? And then finally, once you start executing things on a smaller scale, now it's a matter of doing business development and expanding the footprint. So what do we mean by that? Your analytics and dashboard that you actually developed in the first phase can really go on and then be used by various other other groups at other times. And then one word that I would like to leave with you here. As you reach and access various sources of data, an accountant, for example, an accounting bookkeeping entry might be worth 10 times more for the legal department or maybe a business development department. But there was not a time where these things were being synced, were talking to each other. So don't underestimate the progress you made so far and then use that to your advantage for business development and scale up. So these are the 4 critical elements. Again, plan, start with the customer first, value-based prioritization, execution of it, agile implementation, and then followed by that expand across the company. So with that said, the example that I want to share with you is about a bad debt for business. So most of the companies run into this. In this case, when we started working on this is one of my previous experiences in the analytics space. This came to us as a lack of resources problem. So the way how the business is explaining that is, if I had more resources, I would collect more money and I would actually minimize the bad debt that I couldn't collect. However, when we actually, going back to my initiation and planning, one thing we did was we stepped back and said, okay, let's map the journey of the customer. How is the customer entering this bad debt journey? How is the customer exiting the bad debt journey? And then what kind of patterns can I actually read from this? What kind of patterns is the customer behavior telling me? And then while doing so, one of the first things we had to use was a risk classification that includes all the details we have about the customer. And then also we were able to bring in various other attributes of the customer that would help us prioritize them into a low, medium, and high risk. Once that is done, now the next question is, if there is a low risk customer, can we actually use other means to reach out to them, saying text messaging and things like that, where we could reach out to them and then take them out of this journey, for example. And then the next thing is so by doing so, the pipeline got smaller and smaller, somewhat smaller than what it was before. Now it's a matter of how do we optimize it, how do we do the dispatch scheduling optimization, and this is where we actually used optimization scheduling and data science driven approach, where we took the every day the technician can come in, or the group that is responsible for it can come in and then get a list that can help them do more with less. So at the end of the day, this is the result that we are able to get, which is with the new plan, they were able to get 50% more revenue with 25% less resources. So think about this. We actually gave resources back, and then we are able to collect 50% more revenue with this potential plan. Now, this plan needs more revisions and whatnot with time, but that is exactly how the journey worked. Also, as we started using this more and more, one thing we also realized was during disaster times or times like COVID, one of the questions that was asked to us by the business was, hey, what is the revenue risk? How much of risk do we have? And then for us, that means maybe aggregating the medium and high risk customers at that point, and then be able to provide a view to the business about how we can do that. Another benefit, significant benefit that can also come out of this is this customer service improvement. In this case, remember the low-risk customers, we were trying to reach out with additional means of communication, such as text messaging and phone calls and things like that. They were actually getting a very high satisfaction rates. They're looking at this company as a 21st century company, getting a lot of customer engagement, and that can possibly result in higher customer satisfaction ratings. So in summary, it started off as a simple problem that has two basic things, which is if I had more resources, I would collect more money. But think about the journey here that we did that's powered by data science. And then at the end of the day, we were able to provide various benefits, including understanding of the customers, and then also what can we do about making a better business outcome from a revenue perspective as well as customer satisfaction perspective. So that's really what I would like to present today. And I intentionally kept it short. And if I have any questions, I can answer them.